My grandmother, she told me once she had a recipe called that she made out of apple seeds. That was a healing recipe that she shared. That is a hasaneh, something you do as a gesture of goodness to your neighbors. Uh, and unfortunately, the attack from imperialism, Zionism, colonialism altogether came in 1948, and I never learned the recipe, but it has always been one of those things that I feel is the injury of the wars we suffer.
Marhaba everyone, I'm Talal Isa and you're listening to Tarwida. Today I sit in conversation with one of Palestine's most renowned abstract painters, Samia Halabi, whose colorful and bold paintings have really transformed our ways of seeing. For more than 6 decades, Samia has worked across painting, drawing, printmaking, and digital art. In her work, which has been collected by international museums, she draws inspiration from nature and historical movements such as early Islamic architecture. But Samia is not only an artist, she's a political activist, a researcher, and an academic. Among her publications is a book that showcases the liberation art of Palestine, and another that documents the Kafr Qasim massacre. Before we begin, I encourage you to subscribe to our channel and turn on your notifications to keep track of our newest episodes. And don't forget to follow us on social media at Tarwida Podcast. If you're listening to us on Apple, Spotify, or Anghami, you can find the YouTube link in the description. We highly encourage you to watch this episode, not just listen to it, for all the visual references included. We are recording this conversation on March 14, 2026. Samia Halabi, أهلا وسهلا فيكي بترويدة. It's an absolute pleasure to have you with us on the show.
Thank you. A pleasure to be with so many wonderful young Palestinians. Let's go. Do great things, all
Let's
of you.
go. I feel very, very lucky to be speaking with you, but I also have to admit that I'm a bit overwhelmed because your life spans across so many different, historical events, experimentation, ideas, wonderful pieces of art. So really, I don't know where to start from. And it kind of feels like any attempt would only just scratch the surface. But for now, we don't mind doing that. And I would love to start with you from the very beginning. You were born in 1936, the year of the Arab Revolt in Palestine. And to be honest, I wasn't surprised. For a revolutionary like you, this seemed to be a perfect year for your birth. It was a very pivotal time in Palestinian history.
I could hear them talking to me. Sorry to interrupt you.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
No, not at all. I think they summoned you. I agree. And then you lived in Palestine for 11 years before you were displaced to Lebanon and then to the US. So you only had these 11 years in your formative years in Palestine. We would love to know more about what impact they left on you, what you remember of them, even though they might be, very few years in comparison to your 89 years. But tell us more about that.
First, let me start by saying that 11 years on site is not the end of the Palestine story in my experience. After all, I have Palestinian parents and relatives, and the memory of what happened stamped very strongly on us. But what I'd like to cover in that period of time, those 11 years, is something that perhaps places the dialogue in our area rather than responding to their dialogue, the enemy's dialogue, the enemy's talk, the enemy's propaganda. Because during 11 years is a long time, and they're formative years. And for me, as a person who's in the rest of my life a Palestinian who is rejected in America and in many places, and who's thought of as quote unquote whatever, the terrorists and so on, it put me in an advantaged position. That position being in that I could see their failures because I could see the lies so easily. So those first 11 years in terms of my art, only in hindsight, after you asked me the questions actually, possessed something very unusual that helped my painting. And that was my tendency to want to be fascinated by visual things. So people think we forget, but I remember very crisply and clearly all those things that had a visual impact that really made me look very hard and be fascinated and be amazed. A pleasure, to be so amazed, and a greater pleasure when the a parent generation, uncles and aunties, are aware and want to tease and amaze that curiosity. I remember many things that caught my eye. My auntie, when she sharpened the pencil with a razor blade, could tell that I was just so focused on the pencil. She loved sharpening them in front of me. And one of the most memorable is an uncle, my mother's brother, who came in one day with the old-fashioned matchbox, the type where there's a drawer, you push the drawer, you get... And he told us this is a magic matchbox, and it wasn't magic, it was normal. And he started taking it apart bit by bit, pulling all the papers that made it, and I was hypnotized. I hadn't seen anything so visually, aesthetically exciting. It just caught my attention. Also, I had a tendency to assign color and shape to sound, so that became part of my consciousness. My mother would come and tell me, "Idaykim ashbin," your hands are cracked
Yeah.
or needing a little hand cream, and I'd look at my hands and they'd turn into wooden clothespins. I'd see the texture of wood. Ashbin would turn my hands into textures of wood. So anyway, there were wonderful things. We had parents who protected us. So I feel there were many beautiful things. My grandmother spending time driving weekly to Jerusalem. The Palestinian community within which I grew up was protected by being a large community. And also, historically, I really want to declare that I was brought up in Muslim society and have always historically been amazed at how they protected us and allowed us to survive and have our churches and our without any problem. So I want to mention that, our aesthetic is deeply affected by the Muslim society and culture within which we grew up. So
Yeah, we'll get to that. But you reminded me also of something I read that I wanted to fact check with you. I read that you also saw people in fields of color. So it's not just places and the light and what you just mentioned. Is that true? Like, do you associate colors to people?
with the sound of the name of people, not people in color, but my sister's name had a color and shape, and each of my brothers and my own name had its own color and shape. Mine was like a railroad almost, two horizontal lines with verticals, dark red and metallic. And Fuad, my brother, was green, and my sister Nahida, she was the youngest, because she was so innocent, I guess it was silvery and pink and rounded, etc. Every once in a while, I'm still aware a sound comes and I'm concentrating and I will see a texture to it. But that quality is gone now. As you grow to be adult, it disappears. But I suspect one day humanity will exploit it, because I think many people experience it. Exploit it for useful things, like add it to our language.
This is so beautiful. I mean, I don't think I have that talent or that هاي البصيرة, but I'd love to develop it one day. It's or do you think you're born with it? Like, is it something you develop or you're born with?
No, it's what I was wanting to say is, thanks for asking that. I think you can develop it. Just be aware of what's going on in your mind when you hear things. Just be aware of the world. But one of the things that's important about what I'm saying in my childhood experiences is being very conscious of what our eyes tell us is around us. to trust your eyes and to look carefully and to look at how what your senses are telling you visually.
And I love that you couple that with optimism, but we'll get to that later on. I would also love to know more about your relationship to your grandmother, because when we were talking 2 days ago, you said that she was an inspiration to you, and the autobiography you're writing right now, actually, the title of it is inspired by her, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So tell us more about her, about the autobiography and the title.
Well, the title is Apple Seeds, which at first I was shy to do because there's an American myth about apple seeds. But I decided, well, no, I'm going to disregard it. They're my grandmother's apple seeds. So
Yeah, before the myth maybe even.
occurred, yes. So my grandmother, what I'd like to point out is many people think that Arab women are really downtrodden, and there are some, indeed, that do not speak up. But my grandmother, as a matriarch, everybody obeyed her, believe me. And to the extent that my brothers told me that when they were young, they had to kiss her hand. I never had to. Daughter of her daughter.
كانت بتغوز معك?
No, I think it's
the
old traditions of the female line. Yeah. I had female privilege. But no, she was wonderful, and she became my role model because she had presence and power and people obeyed her. And she would share with me information and tales that she didn't talk to me as though I was a child. She talked to me almost as though I were her equal. She told me once she had a recipe that she made out of apple seeds that was a healing recipe that she shared. That is a hasanah, something you do as a gesture of goodness to your neighbors. And unfortunately, the attack from imperialism, Zionism, colonialism altogether came in 1948, and I never learned the recipe, but it has always been one of those things that I feel is the injury of the wars we suffer. So...
And you told me you remember also from that time your father coming home injured.
There was an attack by I believe it was the Haganah, who placed a truck full of explosive at Saraya Yafa, which is the government building in Yafa. There was a meeting going on, approximately 30 people were killed, and my father was injured among them. It was on January 4th, 1948, and he was busy taking people to hospital because his injury was minor, but he bled profusely, and so when his friends finally brought him home, he looked like he was in much worse shape. But yes, I remember that night very clearly. And similar nights of shooting at night, we could hear late at night. And sitting by the radio, the British were about to leave, and there were always skirmishes in which British soldiers and Israeli gangsters from the gangs were killed, and Palestinians, always more Palestinians, a middle amount of British and fewer Israelis. At that time, the British were preparing the military of the Israelis to declare Israel and to attack us. So the British were definitely perfidious in the whole game. They were perfidious from the beginning, but definitely more so at that time. At
Tarwida, we really value interviewing people like you who are actually older than occupation. We've previously interviewed Rima Nasser Tarazi, and now we're interviewing you. And it's really important to hear your account and you witnessing what happened even before 1948. So it's a very important period of history that we all need to learn more about. Samia, I have a very maybe broad question that I don't know if is too broad to answer, but How did you become an artist? Like, what story do you tell yourself in terms of how you became an artist?
Like many people who are artists, I always drew when I was young. And I remember times when my sister and her friends would ask me to draw things so they could fill, and we'd make collage together. Um, and my books were filled with little sketches of faces and date trees. And when it came time for college, I guess I was the typical propagandized teenager. I thought you studied something, uh, and that art was not something you study. So I started looking at math and chemistry and physics and the sciences. And they wasn't going very well because for one reason or the other, I had a no about each one of them. So it was my mother who said, you always drew, you always loved drawing and painting, why don't you study art? And I thought, well, okay, I'll study art as long as I can earn my living because I wanted to be independent. And so I chose what was then called advertising design. But I loved it, painting and drawing classes most of all. So you might say I backed up into becoming an artist. Or maybe you can say I was an artist all the time, but...
And what I love about your work and about your also intellect, and I told you that in our conversation 2 days ago, is that from what I understood, you don't compartmentalize art on one side and science on another side. You see them both as holistic. And the more I got to know more about your work and learn more about your paintings, it was very apparent to me that you have even like almost a mathematician mind, and you produce art at the same time. And this is not very easily found these days, to have artists who combine both worlds.
I think it's good to make distinctions, though, to be truthful about it. I wanted to point out that I was aware visually with my eyes. I always found it important to see and examine what are my eyes telling me, just not only what my ears are telling me. And also, there's a lot of propaganda out there to mislead artists in the capitalist world. Actually, worldwide. You know, first of all, they're told painting is a self-expression. It's the last thing on earth that it should be. In fact, if you study history, it gives the lie to it. And my favorite joke is, can you imagine the Pope telling Michelangelo, would you please come and express yourself all over my Sistine ceiling? I mean, that just never happened in history before. Express yourself. So it's part of the individualism of capitalism. And so let me take it somewhere else. You know, if you're told your art is about yourself, it's kind of hard to make art, you know? Kind of hard to do abstract art. What is it? What's in my brain? What's in my belly button? What dreams do I have? So many people waste their time painting their dreams. They can't, you know, and they don't make sense to them. The Palestinian artists whom I interviewed wanted to make art for their society. They were not stuck in that backward kind of propaganda. But the Palestinian artists said, we're going to make a symbolist art that serves our people, that is understood by Palestinians. And in that way, they were very, very radical. But there was something about abstraction that was difficult for both the working class bureaucrats in a divided world who thought of it as being decadent because they didn't understand it. While the American bourgeoisie just absorbed it and claimed it and made it look like a New York invention. And then they decided to kind of put it down because they were worried their artists are going leftwards. But when you look at abstraction, you find out that although it's worldwide in its presence, after all, isn't addition and subtraction and division an abstraction from reality? And being human beings having abstraction means possessing very valuable tools to analyze the world. And so I removed the word art, to go back to your question, from my vocabulary to the extent I can. It's hard. And gave it its original name of being a craft. So, yes, I have a craft. I studied it. I'm good at it. I can draw almost anything I look at. And so it's a craft. But the filmmaker has a craft, or the camera person has a craft, and the cook has a craft, and the people who clean the houses have a craft. You have a method for how to do things. So I felt like art should be put in that category. Leave it be the art of war, the art of cooking, the art of playing chess. And why can't I use my art for different areas of the visual pictorial world? So I did that, because people kept asking me, where's Palestine in your work? So I decided the mainstream work that I do, the painting as abstraction, would rely on what I consider my ancestry in abstraction. And I do documentary work which documents things in Palestine. Like very soon, the book that I wrote about the Kafr Qasim massacre is just being published in Arabic. And it was published in English in 2016. So those drawings are totally documentary, no self-expression, no fantasy. I tried my best to document what was really there, like a scientist. And I make posters. Unfortunately, I forgot to dig some of them up, but my posters are very radical. And that's my propaganda art, pro-Palestine propaganda art.
Before we get to them, we're going to talk about them extensively. I'd love to know more about the influence of nature in your art, because you told me that this is your driving force and this is what you see. And maybe you can use even the painting behind you to explain to us how this relates to nature, and also how your work has evolved, given that you started in the 60s to produce art until today. How do you see your art evolving in general, in terms of themes, in terms of relationship to nature, in terms of color? It would be really good to scan, the entirety of your work and know more about how you see it now.
At school, I was just a good student. You have something to teach, I'm here to learn it. I wasn't thinking, I have to express myself and argue with them that they're doing the wrong thing. If they're teaching something silly, I didn't learn it, of course. But young Palestinians tend to be very polite, so I didn't tell them I thought they were being idiotic, but I listened politely. But to those who thought intelligently, I drank it all up. And one of the most intelligent people teaching us was actually a physicist. And he used to subject us to very theatrical experiments that dazzled me. He wanted to explain the sunset for us. Why is the sunset red and the sky blue? So he set up an experiment. He set it up on the chemistry table. We could understand why it was that way. And he wanted to explain that illumination allows our eyes to see color, and there's a lot more to it. But one day he turned all the lights off except for a sodium arc light, which is yellow in color. It only emanates energy in one of the wavelengths, and it's a yellow wavelength. Asked us, what do you think you'll see? We all thought we were going to see yellow, of course, right? But he turned the sodium arc light, and all we saw was like being in a black and white movie. All we saw was dark and light. We saw no yellow. Colors are relative, so experiments like that teach you how to see and how to think about what you see and how complex it is. When I left school, I decided I needed to do something. I thought, I need to do something of my own, which is also a little misguided. So I started trying to wear different styles. None of them worked for me. So I thought, okay, what's painting about? Painting is visual. Obviously, it's about our eyes. Let me examine how we see. How do we really see? So that began to progress, and it started out by doing geometric still lifes. And the minute I did that, the geometry of Arab art came into it. And then it progressed slowly, questioning how we see, questioning the viability of perspective. I arrived at rejecting perspective and shading. And then when I realized that what we see is not exactly how the Renaissance taught us to see, how the camera teaches us to see, but that there's a new way of seeing, that we are moving individuals. And the artists, other than Arab abstraction and the sense of time in Arab art, I began to see how time was entering the Impressionists and the Soviet constructivists. And I realized that each one of those took place at a time of working class uprising, as well as American abstract expressionism. And I began to see the relationship between all of them as being the birth of the future, a world based on genuine working class morality and a genuine equality, not generations ruling generations, or the pattern of the big dog at the top telling us all what to do layer by layer. No Trump in this world, no kings. Just to take it to the practical. So I began to understand that we represent reality in abstraction by presenting what we understand as we move in it, not as we sit frozen in it. And as we move in it, we see things contract and expand. We see a lot of things, and we live in a world that there are airplanes, and we experience the world not as the Renaissance citizen experienced it. There's a whole new world based on motion. So that entered my work, and I decided abstraction was really about the principles of reality. And that painting behind me, by the way, is called Palestine is the Anvil. And I was first starting it at the time that the Zionist U.S. attack on Gaza began. And I chose the title. On the other wall was a painting that I called Massacre of the Innocent, 2024 or 25, I think, well, by the time I finished it and it went to a show. It's now at the museum in Antwerp. And that painting was actually direct reaction to the massacre visually, to the gray that was being created, to the poison, to the places where there was blood and death and people caught under the rubble. The one behind me was saying, I was painting how people relate to each other in a city, the organization, the motion, the different neighborhoods. There's a neighborhood with more white squares, a neighborhood with red squares. There are big squares where many lines and paths are leading to it, maybe a meeting hall. There are little tiny squares that travel between maybe people walking, etc. But I called it Palestine as the Anvil because I felt that Palestine had become the center of a world which wants to go in revolt against the current Western mode of oppressing us, especially in the Arab world. And I saw the sparks flying into American resistance groups, into Africa, into Britain, all over the world. People were being affected by what was going on in Palestine. So, and you put something on the anvil and you take a big hammer to hammer it, sparks always fly everywhere. So I felt the sparks of revolution are going everywhere.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And how do you, if we want to get more into your process, how do you start a painting such as this one?
I just start, frankly. I don't know how I start. I have been doing ideas about interrelationships of shapes to each other, that the relationship of parts is what matters. It's not the parts themselves. It's what happens between them. And that's why Impressionism is so important. For the first time in history, brush marks could represent flying birds or walking people by the way they were relating to each other, not by that someone went and drew a bird very, very carefully. So I start with these ideas.
Yeah. But aside from your abstract work, you also produced what you call documentary drawings. And you use this approach to document the massacre of Kafr Qasim in a book you published in 2017. And that is now, as you mentioned, going to be published in Arabic. So the book includes realistic drawings of that horrific day in 1956 when the Israeli border police killed 49 Palestinian civilians. Tell us more about why you decided to document that massacre in particular, that incident in history, and why you chose realistic drawings instead of abstract art, which is more of your forte.
Abstract art is not a documentary art. Abstraction doesn't document. Abstraction explores the language of pictures to move us into a future where this language can contribute more technologies to us, for us. Perspective came out of pictures, so did writing. And you have to accept that pictures are not just decorations for the walls. Pictures serve many, many, many purposes. We could say there's medical illustration, there is AutoCAD, there is automated perspective to draw buildings with, there is photography and film. All of those principles, those visual principles, grew out of pictures, out of flat pictures, beginning thousands of years ago, and they matured. So when I went to documentation, I was not making my art. Here I misuse the word art. I was not doing the research edge of my commitment to painting. This was something known. This was a massacre. This was illusion, because my purpose was not self-expression or decoration. My purpose was to document, because there was no camera at the time, and I said I'm going to pretend to be a camera and use my art, properly used here, simply the knowledge of how to draw a figure, and set up and draw the whole massacre. So I started interviewing people, which was a learning experience. What I discovered in the process that was very interesting is that you could take the witness of people who were in the massacre and whose witness would hold up in court, but it doesn't make a picture. So they're telling me they said this, they did that, but I don't know where they're standing. They sat on the fence, they climbed the fence. I had no idea what the fence looked like. They were on the road, they weren't on the road, which road, so on. All of that I had to go research. So I went and researched a great deal, even looked up in the internet what the layout map was and where the massacre took. So when they told me east, west, north, south, I could figure out what's going on. I made mistakes, mind you, but by and large, I tried my best. And the people of Kafr Qasim, I learned a lot about what a village undergoes or a town undergoes when a massacre like that takes place. It's been 70 years, but believe me, it's not forgotten. It does affect the village. It's like a hammer blow that tears people all up. And there's angers, there's anguish, and there's a horrible oppression from the side of the Israelis. What they went through is unbelievable, and they closed up on the village after the massacre. No one knew anything. Anyway, it's quite a story. Buy the book. You will enjoy reading it. The other thing that was important is it took a while. You asked me how did I get into it. I was making pictures and stories on my internet page. I was part of the very first web page on the internet by artists. And it was led by a woman who worked for a very large corporation, and she was dropping out, and she was an artist. She made a site called art.net. She invited as many as 100 artists, I believe, and we all have studios there, which is a web page we built. So Aisha Amir, a member of one of the families of Kafr Qasim, studying in Germany, she sees my webpage, she contacts me, and that became the beginning of a friendship. Aisha Amir was 100% persuaded if you're a Palestinian artist, you must do a painting about the massacre. So she dragged me happily to Kafr Qasim, introduced me to all her sisters and all their families and her brother, and there was no place to stay, so her brother was gracious enough to house me. And I did interviews, and she introduced me to her friends who then took care of me, and I made many visits and slowly developed a relationship with Kafr Qasim.
Mm-hmm. It's very unfortunate that you had to listen to all these horrible stories and you had to document that. And fast forward to 2024 and 2023 when it started, you had to also witness the genocide in Gaza. In 2024, you worked on a painting for Gaza titled Massacre of the Innocents. It's abstract and it doesn't follow the same approach you followed for the Kafr Qasim massacre. So tell us more about that painting in particular and why you chose in this particular time to use abstract art instead of the documentary drawings.
It's abstract to a limit. It is abstract, but not. It's all made out of small dots, gray, big and small. And also, if you follow it with your eyes carefully, you'll see a made path going through it of a darker kind of huge avenue, which to me at that time represented, I know that Gaza had a main road going down, and all through the years we're experiencing all the damage and the horrors they apply. And I remember that highway was graciously covered by huge trees that created shade. And the Israelis came and cut them all down, just like the evil ways in which they persecuted. So eventually we saw a river of Palestinians trying to return back, which caused all of us who remember 1948 to really weep. It was amazing to see the emotional expression of huge numbers. It's like a river of people returning. So that was in the painting, subtle. And then there are locations in the painting where I thought of as being traps for people who had been killed and not escaped. But it stayed pretty abstract. You have to know what I was thinking of, but it's not illustrative exactly.
And I think also it was heavily documented, like we live in a digital age and this genocide has been unfortunately broadcasted. So there was no need maybe for you to act as a camera as you did with the Kafr Qasim. But it's a beautiful painting. In addition to your documentary drawings or to your abstract paintings that speak directly to Palestine, such as the one you did on Gaza, you've also dedicated your artistic talent to produce political posters, which you just described in our conversation 2 days ago as propaganda. So tell us more about that and how also you utilize your art for these posters.
Well, some of the posters I made were for the Instagram. And actually, if you go through my account, the Instagram account, you'll see a lot of them. They predate the beginning of the genocide, because 2 years before the genocide began, well, we always knew what they were doing. This is not new. It was clear what was happening, so in advance, I was writing little messages on posters with words, not words under, but the picture. And some of them said that this is about stealing the oil offshore. The real owners are the people, the beautiful people of Gaza. But if you kill them all, then you can claim the oil as yours. I said it in better words, but you can go look. And so there were some that crossed over and tried to express sympathy with other resistance groups, especially the African Americans in the U.S., and so on and so forth. Once the massacre began, I felt almost immobilized. It just was so huge. What they were doing was unbelievable, and I didn't have a handle on the whole thing. So I was watching, except for that one big painting. I did. And I made some more comments, but not as much as beforehand. Now, I will share some posters with you. I'll just tell you posters in advance from periods of my activism. I remember one poster particularly. On one side, it said, "Want peace? Dismantle Israel." And on the other side, it said, "Israel makes Auschwitz in Gaza." Well, I was holding it in a demonstration. It must have been 20 years ago or longer. And comes this Zionist who is, of course, sympathetic to the Jewish entity or the Zionist entity, and he's challenging me. Auschwitz in Gaza, no comparison. Do they do gas in Gaza? I said, yes, they do. Do they do medical experimentation on people? I said, yes, they do. I saw cadavers stitched up because their organs were stolen. Do they do this? Do they do that? Yes, I do. He couldn't find a way to win the argument. He said, "Idiot," and marched away. I love that, idiot. I love being called
That's
an
the only
idiot.
way, and he could.
I thought, victory. But the reason I'm optimistic is because the world can go in two directions. You know, it's polarizing right now. You see the polarization in populations all over the world, and I'd like to put my faith in that part of in that pole which goes with the working class and the future of equality for all of us. So. That is what gives me optimism. If I want to think about, what if that pedophilic, satanic, ritualistic class wins, then we're in trouble. Then we have to fight. Either way, we may have to fight. Anyway.
Yeah. So, Samia, in the 1990s, you went back to Palestine after you left during the Nakba, and that was your first time. You visited Jerusalem and other parts of Palestine. So tell us more about that time, especially that when we asked Vera Tamari, the Palestinian artist, what she would like to ask you, she wanted to know more about the impact that trip left on you and your art.
There was quite a serious impact of that first trip. But it was not the first trip. There was a previous one in 1966, which Jerusalem was not yet, the West Bank was not taken yet. And I was visiting my two aunts, the sisters of my brother, and they pretty much controlled my life. I couldn't go anywhere without their permission, and if I wanted to do something, they had to plan it for me. Typical, you know?
Yes.
So, but I don't object. They were very nice, and I had to take...
I'm sure they made you good food.
They made me good food. I had to bring half a suitcase full of gifts, which they didn't appreciate because I chose all the wrong things, of course. But the effect that trip had on me was in adult life. Now, my father's sister, aware of my interest in the arts, took me for a very thorough visit to the Dome of the Rock and to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. And they took me to visit a relative whose name was Sophia Halabi, who was a painter. She wanted me to meet her. I was young then. I must have been still in college. Or no, I was a young teacher then, a professor. Sophia proceeded to tell me, "How do you sign your name?" And I said, "Well, I sign S. Halaby sometimes Samia Halaby." "Don't sign S. Halaby. I'm S. Halaby."
Conflict of interest.
Anyway, when I went the second time, the impact it had on me, because the second time I was more mature, more independent. I wasn't going to let them run my life. So I, I met Vera at that time. I think it was the uh, early trip. One of the stories Vera told me that stays with me is that in the evening, as she's walking in Ramallah, for the first time, she said last night, she could hear the laughter of young people out on the streets, because Ramallah had been under occupation for so long. And that had a very strong uh, impact on me. In other words, it explained very clearly what it felt like to be imprisoned, not to be able to go out, the curfews all the time. I enjoyed the students.
And another artist, if I'm not mistaken, you also met during that visit, but in Amman, not in the West Bank, is Muna Saoudi. And you told me that she was a great inspiration for you and for your art. So tell us more about your relationship, Kaman, with her.
Muna Saoudi, I met a long time ago. I met Muna for the first time in 1979 when I went to Beirut. I know I remember was sitting in the Beirut was in a war situation, a class war situation. As you may not know, that the Palestinian Jabhat al-Falastiniya, the Palestinian political parties, had essentially partnered with the Shia, and they were fighting the Israelis and the Maronite Sunni. The Sunni didn't come into it, but the Maronite owners. So there was a serious war going on. Those were the times when I met Muna. I met Muna there, and later on, she, as head of the plastic arts section, sponsored and organized a show in Norway, and I met her in Norway again. And a friendship emerged, and I have great respect for Muna. Muna gave me back that life I missed as with my fellow Arab students, were I to stay in the Arab world. I mean, I had them till age 14, but not after that. So Muna became the friend that replaced a lot of what I missed growing up away from the Arab world. So as a pair of women, Arab artists, both Vera and Muna, had a deep impact on me. The other thing I noticed is whenever I went back, I made friendships that lasted. Unlike what it feels like being in New York. I have a few really strong friendships, but there's a different flavor to making friends with people in the Arab world for me as an Arab. So...
Samia, in the 1980s, if we want to go back a little bit, computers started to become a thing. And you were in your 50s back then. I don't want to make you too old or sound ageist, but I'm very impressed that you took on the computer as a medium for you to experiment your art on. So tell us more about that time and why you decided to adopt digital art into your work.
Well, as I told you at the beginning, returning to that theme, as a Palestinian, you get a different view of the world because they're treating you in a certain way. And so you can see through the lies. And so you begin to wonder what else is lied about. So when I started looking at pictures and painting and trying to figure out what they're about and how do we see and what we really want in the pictures, I learned a lot. And one of the things I learned that any good art, any revolutionary and good period of time comes and uses the technology of its time. And besides which, computers are very attractive. So my sister bought an Apple II in 1984, I believe. And so I had a few minutes lesson from her son. Auntie, look, you do da 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 da. Of course, in out. But it was enough for me to use a program called Logo. And generally, we Arabs like rhythm and mathematics. And I almost studied mathematics, but the exams gave me a headache, and I said, I'm not going to live with a headache all my life, so forget mathematics. So,
But you found a way back into it.
yes, I started saying, Samia, the great art of its time, always used the technology of its time. So why am I using oil paint? So I went shopping for a computer. And of course, when I first started, there was this male. First of all, computer art was considered disgusting. It wasn't accepted in the galleries. And many people used it in fairly slimy ways. They like to do symmetry and this and that. But having studied the history of art and understood painting and what it does, I decided I needed to know the medium. I did not want anyone between me and the medium. But I was a painter, and 50 years old, you're a mature painter. So thank goodness I was not bedazzled by the programs. I was not going to use a drawing program to pretend that this mouse is a brush doing watercolor. I thought that was ridiculous. So I dug into what the computer can do. And I realized that the only way I could use that medium is to program. So it was all by myself. The minute I ran the first command, I knew there was something different and unusual that was taking place. And then when I'd finish a painting, I'd say, Samia, people are going to think you're a nut on the screen.
And how did they react to it?
Mostly they didn't care. Nobody cared. I had a show, believe it or not, in 1988 at a small gallery. And I took my computer art and my television, on which I showed some videos of having copied some onto the video. So there was the computer and the video running, but people looked at it, but they didn't know what to say. Literally, they didn't know what to ask. It was just this strange thing happening.
And you still have your Amiga in your office
It
until
still
this
works.
day, right? It still
Yeah.
works. Wow. And if I want to take what you're saying into account for today, if you want to be the artist of your time now, you probably need to use AI.
No.
So what do you
forget
think
it.
of that?
I think I'm not going to use AI. Again, I tell you, no one's going to be between me and my material. Not AI, certainly. AI, there's nothing intelligent about the computer. Computer is a dumb machine. It doesn't make mistakes. We do. We make big mistakes, but our mistakes lead us places. The computer has no intelligence. Forget it. Those are knowledge-based programs, which is great. They'll be useful. I'd love to use one all the time. They answer questions. But as to intelligence, no. There's nothing there. Besides which, I'm the artist, not the programmers. They know nothing about pictures. Bless their heart, they make great things, and they know what they're doing, but they don't know what I'm doing. We have to make distinctions. We cannot mix things together. Does that make sense?
Yeah. If we want to move to your work in academia and to talk a little bit about the institutions of art, whether in universities, galleries, museums, we'd love to know more about your tense relationship, I would call it, with the academic world. You taught in Yale for a long period of time and other universities, if I'm not mistaken. But you also have your concerns and you have your critiques. So tell us more about that tension between you and the academic institutions when it comes to your art and when it comes to teaching art.
You know, the structure of the world of pictures to the commercial that sells it as painting is that we artists are at the bottom of the totem pole. we have no power of decision. The gallery has all of the decision making because they are the ones who have the clients. And Mona Saoudi used to hate galleries. She wanted to sell on her own. But it makes life much easier when you let the dealer do it. Of course, dealers take, in modern times, they take 50% of the price. Then the government comes and takes 50% of the rest. And then you hope to be in a museum, so you give them things. So no matter how you stack it, creative artists are at the bottom of the structure that's built by capitalism. And that's how it is. It began, the gallery as a place for artists to sell their work began about early 19th century. The first two commercial galleries were established. So our relationship to academia and to the museums and to the critics is always at conflict. They think they decide what is the art of the future, but they don't really know. And so they try, which is good. They study, they create essays, which builds a certain knowledge base. But when you take the galleries historically and you go, take the 20th century and study the record of galleries and study what historians eventually decided was worthwhile paintings, you're going to find that they didn't come through the galleries, that the galleries had a pretty abysmal record for choosing what is good. Artists are ambient everywhere, and one day we'll think of ways to give them more power by having them create committees, local committees, but that's another subject. Indiana University's behavior towards me was based on the fact that they had an administration that had no courage and quickly bent their will to the will of the government, who was obviously thinking about how they're going to go to Palestine, take over the Gaza, kill everybody, then take over Iran. They're working a path. They're desperate economically. They want to gain raw materials. They want the oil in Iran. And eventually they're landing their sights on China. They want to fight China in the end. So that became obvious to me when the government called many different organizations and told them to persecute the Palestinians, cancel their shows, etc. I was a student at Indiana University. I earned an MFA there. I became a professor a few years later at Indiana University, and I earned tenure there. And then when they called me to do the show, we started planning the show. It took about three years to get it planned. A book was published, a hardcover book, a catalog of the retrospective. And the day it arrived, fresh from the printer, is the day they decided to cancel the show.
And how did you react to it? How did you receive the news?
I still laugh about it, in a way they did the stupidest thing they could. And I understood that there's a division between the administration, the professors, and the students. So I made it clear that I was angry with the administration, not the students or the professors. Of course, professors were on both sides. Some were against me, some were with me. Students, by and large, were with me. Those who were against me kept their mouths shut because they were outvoted. But the person who did the curating, her name became Elia Josephine Reichert. And it was sort of early mid-career, and that show was important to her. So I felt worse for her than for me. For me, right now, I laugh at it because they made fools of themselves, and they handed me proof everlasting that they're racist. It's very hard to prove racism, but here they are. That's okay. It's easy price to pay.
Yeah, and a year later, after the Indiana University incident, Michigan State University removed your painting, Six Golden Heroes. Tell us more about it in particular, and what was so threatening about it to the point where they'd remove it?
I don't know what's threatening about it. They- six golden heroes. Remember the six men who escaped from high security prison in Palestine? Well, when I heard that,
جلبوع.
I thought, wow. So I called some friends in Brooklyn and said, get me the names. So they got me the names, the Arabic names fully. So I turned the canvas over, wrote all their names, and dedicated the painting to them, and turned it back around and continued painting. I made sure there were six large golden parts in the painting. But other than that, it's an abstract painting dedicated to them. If they had kept their mouths shut, no one would have known what the painting is about.
Exactly.
But there was another big painting they removed, and they were pretty silly. But that's, was very disappointing.
Yeah, they gave it more importance.
Yes, and the thing that was amazing is that it was part of the advertising. There they were removing it from the show, but the press release, the original press release, was already in magazines. And there it was, six golden heroes, but it now canceled out of the show. But that's okay. Then two curators, Nadia Radwan and a Turkish curator called Vasif, did the show at Doha called We Refused. And it is now at Antwerp, but unfortunately those paintings didn't leave Doha in time. So, but I think the rest will make it out in due time.
Yeah. And in 2024, your work was featured in the Venice Biennale, the Black is Beautiful painting, which you painted in 1969. Tell us more about this painting in particular and the story behind it.
I was making, at that time, is when I mentioned that I was doing still lifes. There's an actual black cross, actually, it might be up there still on the top shelf, that I used for a still life. And I cast lights on it from two sides, one warm, one. I think there was a hot color from the above, a red, and a warm, cool color from the side. And I called it Black and Beautiful is in honor of the African liberation movement and the young people who were then up in revolt. They were doing all kinds of things. So it was in honor of the movement to say Black is beautiful, because over a century and a half, all we heard is how black people, they were dirty, they were smelly, everything, their hair was all wrong. They straightened their hair. They tried to so hard to be accepted. And then suddenly came the Black is Beautiful movement and said, forget it. Wash your hair, let it be kinky all over. and because that is beautiful. And so slowly we began to see that, and in due time we began to see hairstyles for African American hair that were out of sight, beautiful, complex, intricate, culturally, historically, part of a long tradition. So the Black is Beautiful movement was partly directed by an African American scholar on Africa whose name is Elambe Breath. And so as time went by and I got to know Elambe Breath, one day we're at a bar laughing and he's telling the story of all the women who washed their hair and had an afro and came back to the political events. But come Monday morning, they had to go back to work. They straightened the hair and tried to fit in the model. And we were just drinking and having fun about it, but not by way of disregard or disrespect, but by way of remembering the details and the hard work you go through and, what the results, some of the immediate results, but it had some long-term excellent results. And so I dedicated the painting to him, and it stays thus dedicated. When they showed it at the biennial, I had hoped they'd say something about that, but there isn't a word about it in the little blurb they put next to it, which was disappointing. They always do that. They try to reinterpret us.
What would you have wanted them to say about it?
I would have wanted them to. I sent them 2 paragraphs about who he was and why I dedicated the painting. Anyway, the painting is there. It will remain with me and my foundation, and hopefully it'll find the respect it needs one day.
Inshallah. Samia, I can go on forever, but we need to wrap up. So I would love to know from you towards the end of our conversation what messaging or what messages you have for the young generation of Palestinian artists. Because when I called you a few days ago, you said that you really would want to inspire young generations and you want young artists to, maybe get inspired by your work. So what would you tell them?
I would tell them that to imagine how fantastic Palestine would be now if it weren't for these huge injuries we are suffering, and how much I admire them really, because there have been Palestinians in Palestine, in Gaza. I mean, the resistance has been amazing, so scientific, so self-respecting, so good, so honorable. And I see young Palestinians like yourself, like the 2 young women here, who are actually studying and doing things. They're not sitting back. And I think all of that is wonderful, and it inspires me. I feel like very happy and very satisfied to see that. And so I would say, be confident, go ahead. Don't let them stop you. Establish our own discourse. Theirs is rotten. We don't need it.
Thank you, Yani. For sure, you're an inspiration for all of us. We are very excited to read your autobiographies and to more of your wonderful work.
Thank you.
And inshallah, we'll get to meet in person. Maybe you come visit me in Cairo, or I come to New York one day.
All good wishes for the birth of your child. Is that the first or the second?
Thank you. The first.
Yeah. Many more, I hope.
Her name is Zena. Her name will be Zena. So if you find a color to the name, let me know.
Okay. I will. Take care.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much,
My
Samia.
pleasure.